Hello, second graders. So today we're going to be talking about coins, and we're going to learn how to count coins when you have different numbers of different kinds of coins. But to start out, we're just going to talk about coins and what we know about them. I'm going to start with a penny. So we know that this is a penny, okay? This is what the front looks like. It has Abraham Lincoln on it, okay? And it's got 1 cent on the back because a penny is worth 1 cent. So if we were to count pennies, we would count by ones. 1, 2, 3, okay, and so on, because we count pennies by ones because each penny is only worth 1 cent. All right, let's look at another coin that we know. We talked about this coin some already, so we're going to talk about it second, okay, before we talk about the new coin that we're going to talk about today. So this is a dime, all right? And we know that this is a dime. We know that it's got this on one side, and it's got on the other side, it says 1 dime. Oh, that's tricky because it doesn't tell us how many cents it's worth. But we know that 1 dime is worth 10 cents. So if we were to count dimes, if we only had dimes and we were counting dimes, what would we count by? We'd count by tens because each 1 dime is worth 10 cents. So 10, 20, 30, and so on because we'd count them by tens. Okay, now I have another coin. Ooh, I want to hide my dimes. I don't want you to look at my dimes yet. Okay, I have another coin, and we've talked about it a little bit, but I want to talk about it some more. This coin is called a nickel, okay? And a nickel is worth how much money? A nickel is worth 5 cents, okay? So each nickel is worth 5 cents. So if we were to count nickels, we'd count them by fives. And when we count by fives, we know that our next number is going to be either a 5 or a 0, and it goes every other one. So counting by fives is really pretty easy. You just go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. You see how it keeps going up? So the tens will go up every other one, and the fives will go up every other one, okay? You're always going up by 5, but every other number is a 5 or a 10, okay? And so it's pretty easy to know which number is going to come next when you're counting by fives. So if we were to count by nickels, we would count them by fives, okay? So if I have 5, 10, 15. Okay, so it's pretty easy to count coins when we have the same kind of coin for everything because we know that we count pennies by ones, we count dimes by tens, and we count nickels by fives. Now, here's where it gets a little more tricky. When we have some of all of the coins, what is the easiest way to count them? Now, your book is always going to put your dimes, then your nickels, then your pennies. Now, I want you to think about why they maybe do it that way. Why do you think that they would do dimes, then nickels, then pennies? Okay, now I'm going to tell you what I think. I think that the reason they do that is because it's easiest to count by tens first, and then to count by fives, and then to count by ones. Because if you started counting 1, 2, then you have to add 5, that's 7, then you have to add 10, that's 17, and then it's 27. That's kind of confusing. But it's way easier for me to go 10, and then count on 20. Now I've got to switch and count by 5, so I go from 20 to 25, 25 to 26, because now I'm counting by ones, and 26 to 27. So my answer would be 12. I said 27 and I wrote 26. 26 to 27. So my answer is 27 cents. Okay, that's much easier to count it that way than it is to count it the other way. That's why they always put them that way. So I'm going to give another example. If I had, let's take this one out. Let's put this guy here, and let's put this guy out. Take this guy here. Okay. So if I were to count this one, I would count 10, 15, 20, 25, 26. Okay, so my answer would be 26 cents. And I know that because this is worth 10, so I count it by tens. But I don't get to keep counting by tens because I don't have another dime. I have a nickel, so I have to start counting by fives. So I go from 10 to 15, keep counting by fives, 15, 20, 25. Oh, I'm out of nickels. Now I've got to count by pennies, which is ones. So I go from 25 to 26. Okay, so we're going to use this in our workbook. Now what I want you to do is I want you to turn to page 127, and we're going to look at a couple of those problems on page 127. So, excuse me. Make sure you're on page 127, and let's look at the coins that it's given us, okay? Try and move some of these out. There. Okay. So, on number 1, they've given us 2 nickels and a penny. And they have a line under each one. And then they have a line over to the side, which I'm going to put underneath so you can see it. Well, they actually have 3 lines. They have dollar, and then they have line, decimal point, line, line, because they have their dollar amounts and then their cent amounts, okay? And whenever we see a decimal point, that's when we get to say and. I know I've been telling you can't say and when we say 152. That's because there's not a decimal point. But if you have a decimal point, you get to say $1 and 52 cents, okay? So that's what that decimal point means, is and, okay? So we've got dollar, decimal point, and cents, okay? So we're going to count our cents, and we're going to count on, okay? And the reason we're going to count on is because it's easier than just showing what each one is worth and then having to add it all together. It's easier to just count on, which is what we do when we're doing addition all the time. So we have 5, and I'm going to count by 10, so 5, 10, but I'm out of nickels now, so I have to switch and count by ones. So I'm at 10, and then I've got to count one more, is 11. So that means that I have 11 cents, okay? And if I have 11 cents, I have $0, because I haven't got to 100 yet, and I have 11 cents, okay? So that is what your answer for I guess it's number 6. Number 6 looks like the first one on page 127. Number 6 looks like that. All right, we're going to do one more together before I turn you loose, okay? So the next one has 2 nickels and 3 pennies. All right, so I'm going to make my lines. Think about how you would count this as I'm making my lines. Okay, so I'm going to start and I'm going to count by 5s because I have 2 nickels, so I get to count by 5s for 2. So I go 5, 10. Now, do I get to say 15? I don't, because a penny isn't worth 5. A penny is only worth 1. So 5, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so I have $0 and 13 cents. All right, now I want you to do the rest of page 127 and page 128 on your own.